Hello, everybody. I'm Kate Foggo. This is Julie Hurt, and we are making light to humans being. The episode you're going to see now, we recorded last week, and it turned into quite a long episode, too long, I think, for a single episode. And we did talk about two distinct themes. So I have edited it into two parts. Julie's going to introduce his first part, but I will just say to you, just be aware that this is not my day job. Well, I guess it is my day job, isn't it? But I've done it as best I can. But if it's a bit clumsy or there's bits missing, I think this episode will be okay. Perhaps in the second one, I have been mindful of it. But after you've watched it a few times, it's hard to remember what's in, what's out, what needs explaining. But this is the first episode, which I shall. Well, no, I'm introducing it, aren't I? I'll let Julie explain that. No, it's me. Right. So this one is about differing points of view. Sorry, the cat's in the way. That Julie, like most people, had Easter with family. How do you cope? What happens? What brings your shit up when you're with family and you're with people who don't necessarily share your views, your politics, anything really, and just how you cope with that. So it's really about that and how Julie dealt with it and what it brought up for her. So enjoy.
We had Easter the day before, and I had Easter dinner at my sister's house. And we all got gathered. It was my sister's family outside of her oldest child and my mom and dad. And somehow my brother-in-law earlier that day had sent me this article, an opinion piece from the Times, because he's British, so he reads the Times. And it had to do with the data, the census data, and how the left in particular takes the census data and blows it out of proportion and then creates these policies and programs to address this really what is actually a very small minority of people of color and transgender or LGBTQ plus people. And so they're like the left gets in its own way because it's trying to create programs for a small group of people when we have these bigger things at play. And so I'm just like, well, so he brings it up at dinner. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to talk about this shit.
Hang on a second. Isn't the Times is almost certainly a Tory paper, is it?
Oh, I'm guessing with how this editorial was.
Because yeah. I'm sure you could say the same about the right take very small percentage of very, very rich people and make all the policies about them.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, and it was an opinion piece. It was not journalism, right? I mean, anyway. Well, he likes to say he's a capitalist, my brother-in-law, which is fine. I don't give a shit. It's all whatever. It's all, if it's not based in love and you're not, connected to the bigger, greater good, then you know what? It's all a fucking illusion anyway. So anyway, so he sends this to me and I'm just like, well, I don't understand the point of what he's trying to say. Like, he's arguing that we shouldn't do policies for other people, basically, right? Is that what he's saying? And then he goes off on this tangent at dinner about how he's being asked at work, how he identifies culturally, gender-wise, all that stuff. And it's really bugging him. And in addition to that, and then see, here's this thing. I have three nephews, one that's 21, 22, and two that are 14. And so he not only does he have his own shit, right? Now here's what I see him also building narratives in their own young, impressionable brains about what all means. And then you add my father onto this, and so now we're perpetuating white male, all of the shit that's happening where it's all breaking down, and now they're all freaked out. And I understand it's like they're losing the moorings that they had, right? So my brother-in-law says that my oldest nephew goes to Michigan State and he's being told in classes that he's a racist because he's a white male. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not in the class, neither are you. And I'm guessing that they're just bringing up the broader expansive story and that we have these white male systems in place. Everybody's a racist. We're all racist. It's how it works. So that's what we're trying to become aware of, is how we are. Okay, yay. Anyway, and then he's also said that within my the twins, they go to high school. They're being they're being told that transgender is okay, that non-binary is okay, that being a furry, I'd never heard of being a furry. Have you heard of this? This is a topic of conversation at book club. That being a furry, yeah, I looked it up. So at the dinner table, I had my nephew Henry, who is to me the one that he likes to sit and listen to all the conversation. I find that interesting. My other nephew got up and left. He's like, I'm not doing this. So because it got among my family, it got really heated, and I just used it. I knew going in something was going to happen, right? So I just used it as a way to practice being still and staying grounded in love. It's hard as fuck. Anyway, so I asked my nephew, would you just, because I didn't have my phone with me, I'm like, would you Google furries for me so I can see what it is, and then I can read about it real quick? So it's human beings that identify as an animal and sometimes like a furry cartoon character, and then they emulate the look and feel of that persona in public. And there is a small aspect of it that has there's a small group of them that also have a sexual aspect to it, but on the most part and so they have kids at school that wear dog collars and ears, and they're allowed because they're expressing themselves. So my brother-in-law is like freaked out, like, why is that normal? I'm like, why is it not normal? Who cares? Does it hurt you? No, it doesn't hurt you. But then we started talking about transgender, and my brother-in-law said, yes, my mom, right? The woman with dementia who's becoming increasingly aggressive and not so nice, says, Faye, how many genders are there? And she goes, there's 2. And he's like, no, there's more than that. He asks me, I'm like, I don't know, 12. Is there even a limit? Whatever. And he's like, he goes, can you list them? And I said, well, there's cis female, cis male, non-binary, and I tried to, I don't know all the terminology. So anyway, and so he starts going off on whatever. And my mom goes, we have to get back to when it's black and white. And I'm like, ah! Oh my God. And then I said to my mom, so you can't tell me, if I came to you and told you I was transgender, I know you'd still love me. I absolutely would not, she said. I go, I know that's not true. I know that no matter whatever happened to me, you would love me no matter what. Nope, I would not. I would totally disown you. And I'm just like, okay. It's fun.
So what's interesting, she said that about furries. I had a little frisson of disapproval, like, who are these people? Yeah. Because like that's madness. I mean,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know what to make of it.
But you can't do one, not the other. Who draws that line? That's the point, isn't it?
Right.
You can't say it's okay, because Gary was saying that the other day. He's like, what about all these people that identify as being a fridge? I was like, well, I thought it was a joke, but from what you're saying?
No, yeah, I have no idea.
I suppose there's a danger that there are people who are taking the piss, but then does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, that's the danger in all of it, right? And any of it, doesn't matter what.
Do you have school uniforms?
Some places, not where the boys go, not either place that the boys go.
So I would imagine then that whether they're identified as a furry or not, they're not allowed to wear dog ears at school.
Right.
Therefore, what's the problem?
There's a show, it's English, it's on Netflix, called Sex Education. I don't know if you've ever watched it. It's really good. But there's a girl or two that identify, they don't know if she identifies as a space alien, but she's very much in tune with science fiction and alien life and all that. So she'll dress up like that to school, and they get a new principal and she's told she can't. And you can see her spirit just begin to wither and die. I mean, do I care? No. Does it, as long as it's, I mean, I don't even guess I wouldn't even put it, I was going to say, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, but I don't know.
I admire, as an adult, I would admire people who have the courage to be really different.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of guts.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also think they were being pretentious to some degree, because, there's always people who want to be different. But,
yeah,
better that we allow people that are genuinely different at the expense of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I look awful. I should put makeup on. Having watched RuPaul and all of that, I just think, it doesn't fucking matter. Does it matter? If you wanted to, if people are using it for their own purposes because they're trying to avoid something or other, that'll come out in a wash one way or the other. They're not, it's not like they're allowing something terrible to happen.
No, it was in the context of that part of the book, when the mask, there was one point in the conversation which really wasn't like, it was really them putting up all their defenses, where I said something. Oh, I know what I said. I said, well, there is a biological evolutionary theory that at some point humans could become non-binary, have both sexes, be like worms, like hermaphrodites. There is a biological, I can't find it online. I've read it somewhere, but I can't find it. Doesn't matter. Anyway, but I'm like, there is that we would evolve to that point where it doesn't matter anymore. And he goes, you could just see like that. If there's a mask that's on top of a face, you could just see it absolutely crumple. And all this anger just came right, like his face just got all scrunchy, and it got right red. And he's like, that's absolute. And I'm like, I'm just saying, it's a theory. Who knows? I said, we came from the depths of mud. Who knows where we're going?
So tell me, Julie, honestly and truly, were you trying to provoke him?
Honestly and truly, was I trying to, if I was, I don't, how do okay, so maybe this is the thing to talk about. There's been this little teeny nagging in the back of my head that maybe the reason why I'm here is not so much for my mom and dad, but for my sister. Because my sister.
Okay, right, stop right there.
I know, okay, yeah, see, this is the thing.
You're not here for anyone, Julie.
I know, but me, I know.
The stuff that happens along the way, happy accidents, absolutely bloody marvelous. I'm glad you're here, right? You've changed stuff in my life. Every person you meet, you have changed their life in some way, some form, some shape, some whatever. But this is my new bugbear. I've just been listening to cognizant of being recorded, should we say, a client who has, like a lot of women, brought up a family, is now divorced, has just lost a child, an older child that she used to care for. And now at the back of her mind is, should I be moving closer to my other children in another country so that I can look after their children? Like filling this need to be of service. It's not why you're here, Julie. I mean, it's great and it's wonderful, but do you really think, honestly and truly, in that discussion, that you made one iota of difference in his mind, or did you just create more anger and fury towards these outrageous people who dare to question his right to be a white heterosexual maniac or whatever he is? I'm joking, obviously. All you've done is annoy him, which, I mean, that's quite fun actually, but I don't think his son might have learned something from it.
Yeah.
He'll have learned that his father's a bigot, and he'll have learned that there are other people that have different opinions.
Yeah.
Whether or not that takes seed entirely depends on
them,
whether he's sympathetic or not to not being normal.
Yeah.
But all that anger that you feel toward him.
Oh, I'm not angry. I really am not angry with him. I'm not. I'm more.
All that.
Yeah. Because I guess I would say I wasn't angry. I understand everybody. If I look at the table, everybody is in a very different place.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I've always felt to be the outsider, the weird one, right? The outsider, the weird one. Now it's woo-woo. Not only was I all the other things, now you add the woo-woo shit on top of it. No, Julie's lost her mind, right? But it was practice. I used it as practice to stay here, true to me. And
but you also knew that what you were going to say was not going to go down well.
Anything I said, and I actually did not talk a whole lot, because anytime I asked before I said something, I was working with my guides too. I'm like experimenting with this, like in any given moment, something, and they'll throw. So they're the ones that threw this biological theory. They're like, throw that sucker out there on the fire.
You think that's your guides?
Yeah. They were like, just because it's who knows was more the thing, but just because it was more of like, stay open to the flow of the conversation, stay open to where everybody's coming. Like even the fact that my mom said, I would not love you if you were transgender. In previous times, that would have hurt. I know it's not, I know though, now it's not.
I think she was just showing off in public.
Yeah. Well, that and the disease. I do think there was the element of the disease in there. And maybe that's a topic, is bracing, because that's what is happening. I'm trying to understand what's going on, because I can see the train. I see what I think is the train coming down the tracks at me, and I want to brace myself for the impact. Because, yeah, do you know what I mean? And this leads to my nephews too, because I brace for the impact. I brace for I want a different outcome. I want my nephews to do better in the fucking world. I don't want them to perpetuate the patriarchy. I don't. So, you know what I mean? So I'm like, that's what both situations, that's what's going on. I have a feel. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's almost three facets, but they're actually the same thing. It's like, I have attachment to the outcome. So I'm trying to like make sure my,
okay, wait.
Yeah.
Let's set this up.
Okay.
So I think the question is, in the way you're talking about, okay, your parents, and we can come back to that, but the way you talk about your nephews, like you feel some responsibility, rightly or wrongly, or desire that they be made aware of the patterns that they are in risk of perpetuating.
Yeah.
So describe what you think your role is in that. Is that the right question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wonder if my role is to be I'm going to say it this way, to be the spiritual teacher. Like there's a better way. There's a more open awareness way. There's all of this is an illusion. You don't need any of all this. How are you even happy with yourself? Like there's that feeling. And I wonder if that's also me trying to be, because I'm really noticing that I am trying really hard to learn more, instead of just being, and like my guides keep telling me to do nothing, be quiet, be still, and all of that.
Because let me just connect to my guys, make sure that they can answer this. They're just laughing, they're saying we're always here. There is yes, I agree. There's a not good enough in all of that.
Oh, boom.
Because I've got goosebumps. I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Just by being who you are, Julie, is enough. It's lovely that you learn more. It's amazing, but you're learning because of your interest in it, not to save your nephews, not to, highlight your parent or any of that shit. was it Nick Rose? You can't not make a difference. You don't need to SWAT up for this. You don't need to learn more for it. You don't need to have more ammunition or have more knowledge or have more anything. You are an inspiration that they will be drawn to if that's the path they want to take. You don't have to be anything else. This is so hard for us to understand. That
it is.
Because you can look at other people and go, but they're fucking marvelous. Why do they need to do? And you know, there's all this striving. It's more striving, and that's probably I think that's what your guides are saying, and my guides are agreeing. And that is, it's great if it's not driven by a need to improve or a need to be more complete, is the words they're using. You are complete. You know, to do all those things, but don't do them to better yourself to make you more prepared for other people.
Yeah, do them just, I'm naturally curious, so I just want to follow.
But in wanting to, or feeling the need to do them, that in itself is saying that you don't know enough, or that your views aren't valid yet, or that you're not, all of which you know is not true. So, should I go there? So my, I'm curious about this. Why did you say to your, something that you knew would, I think it's brilliant, but what I'm interested there is, to me that sounds like ego, but you're saying your guides told you.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering what the end game was.
From an end game, I'm asking even. If there was any, I don't know. I can't, my guides don't make, I don't feel like there was an end game. Like I wasn't playing a game. I wasn't trying to fuck with him. I wasn't trying to.
Okay, well, maybe that's me overlaying that, because that's what I would like to do.
Yeah, no, okay, maybe. I'm trying to like just be really centered and like connected to what took place. So I'm sitting here, he was over here, the rest of my family's on this side of the table. Brad's across from me. As he was talking, and the rest of the table, outside of Brad, really, because Brad didn't engage either, but as they all got riled up about the questionnaire and all the types of genders and the furries, and they started to make fun of, mock, you know, and my nephew right here really wasn't, he was also listening too, but as the rest of the family all kind of engaged, I just stayed really quiet. I got really quiet, and I was constantly asking my guides, because in the past, that type of conversation would do two things. One, shut me down completely, and I would feel really depressed afterwards, or I would come back at it with data. Like this time, because I knew going into it, it was going to be something like this. So I'm like, okay, this time, help me practice staying here, grounded, and where there is an opportunity. And I guess, and I was even guided to do this, where there was an opportunity to say, what if, to bring an openness, a loving awareness is the phrase that I hear right now, loving awareness and acceptance to whatever the situation was. Because here's the other thing, now that I'm looking at the situation, taking a step back even and looking at the situation, none of the conversation at dinner was toxic until my brother-in-law cleared some plates and took them into the kitchen, and I was requested to go cut the dessert because I'd made a new pie. I made this chocolate coconut pie with to die for, but I had to go cut there was cake and pie, so I had to go cut dessert. As I went to do that, my brother-in-law and I were the only ones in the kitchen, and he brings up this article and why he truly sent it, which was a very different reason than anything that had been communicated prior to. And I continued to stay grounded and continued to not.
Whoa, hang on.
Yeah.
So had he sent this article to you before you saw them?
Yeah.
And when you say it was a different reason, what, a different reason to what he'd been talking about at the table? Or
well, then the table conversation comes. Then the table conversation comes.
So why did he say he'd sent it to you?
Originally, when I first read the article, I asked him why. Because I said, I don't understand the point of this article. I asked 3 different questions. I can read it, but it doesn't matter. I asked, like, is it this or is it that? Like, I'm not sure I understand the point of the article. I know how it affected me. And that part I didn't share. I wanted to hear what he had to say. And he kind of went back and forth between using these demographics, these false demographics to create policies. And then he went into teaching the boys, the nephews, the twin nephews, about the acceptance of transgender and all these other different genders. And then he went into and then another time he went into this, my oldest nephew being called a racist in school, whether or not that's, anyway.
So again, why did he send it to you?
That's the question. I didn't ask him why me. I have a feeling I know.
I mean, do you normally share?
No.
Huh?
No, I don't, because I know that I have a more left view of things. If you have to look at it in the constructs of the current world and political situation, I lean left because what doesn't matter. I don't have to justify. I lean left. He leans right. Fine. Everybody fine. Do I agree with half the stuff? No. It's whatever. And this is also a practice for me. Like, I still love my family. I don't agree with how they view the world many times. I don't agree with the way they also view other people.
I was pissing myself laughing when I was watching last week's, and you were talking about being in the car with Brad and his friend. Everybody's an asshole because I got in the car with Gary and he was just like that. I was like, oh my God, it's like fucking Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's how dinner, so we move from dessert cutting to the table and he brings the conversation to the group and then everybody starts mocking furries. And so at some point, in addition to the evolutionary comment that I made, I just said, everybody's doing the absolute best they can. If people identify this way, let them. What does it matter? And my sister started to agree with me. And she's like, well, we're not making fun of them. I said, bullshit. We all just mocked them. All of it, and the table went, and I'm like, because I showed, I just showed them. I'm like, look, we all mocked them. So we're either going to accept them or we're not. Like, I don't know. So am I getting back? So yes, I don't know why he sent it to me. I think it's because he knows he likes to jab at me. But I also think, honestly, when with my guides, there is a lot of pain there, a lot of pain. And he's interested in understanding it, but it's almost like he's not even dipping like the tip of his toe. It's like he's dipping the tippiest, tiniest bit of his like toenail into these waters that you and I have been working through, continue to do, because I think he sees there's something there for him, but to pull that mask off, that's because he is so unhappy at work right now. He's got this huge financial burden on top of him with all the stuff. Like, I know he's just, yeah. So I think that's why it's like reaching out, but I don't let him off the hook. As I say that now, I just realized he wants to be let off the hook. It's okay to be who he identifies with. And it is. You know what I mean? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No. I'm thinking about that. I think because I asked you also why did you say that? Like, why did you bring up the research? But it was also that you're just wanting to open the door a little bit for the benefit of your nephew, that there is always another opinion.
Well, and benefit of anybody at the table. There is, and that's for everybody that's listening to me, is just like, because that's what I've learned. There's always another side or sides to anything.
Talking about your brother-in-law and your need, not your need, well, your need of, it's like you're trying to understand what your purpose is, and yet your purpose is just being you. You don't have to define it. You don't have to nail it down to, I think you're limiting yourself if you think that your role is here to influence your, to take care of your parents. I'd be really wary of that, Julie. Honestly, don't go there unless you absolutely have to. Seriously.
I hear you.
You said about wanting to brace yourself, but there's 2 points. First of all, in the comment you made about 5-10 minutes ago about your parents and your nephews as in being your purpose. I just don't think your purpose is that small. I really don't. I think you need to aim a little higher. You can mop them up along the way, but you don't limit yourself like that. But
I agree.
It's almost word for word what my client was saying, as in what she sees as her responsibilities. And it's just, I was just like, no, it's taken me so long to escape from this need that I can't bear to see other people running towards it with open arms. You don't need to take care of anyone. That's not why we're here. God forbid it ever becomes absolutely essential. You can worry about it then. Until that time, do not plan for it. Do not work around it. What really made me laugh, it was in that, was it? Yes, it was. It was in the one Danielle's webinar that I just watched, the one that triggered me getting in touch with you. And there was a lady, and I don't know what her name is, and I'd love to credit to her, but I can't credit to her because obviously it's a private conversation. But she said, I've paid enough in therapy to not be the good girl.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's just brilliant. Like, all of us are working our asses off to try not to be good people, and by good people we mean masks, because that's what it is. It's all about the masks that we were discussing, the people who want to be seen as good people. Mm-hmm. There's a phrase that way to hell is paved with good intentions. Now, I always thought the way my mother used that with us was that saying that you were going to do something and not doing it was almost a bigger sin than having never done it at all. Right? Mm-hmm. Is that how you understand it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can't, I think it might have been Eckhart Tolle. I really can't remember. I have heard another interpretation of that. Mm-hmm. And it's all this, trying to be a good person. Mm. The way to hell is paved with trying to be a good person, because it's not about being good, and good is subjective.
Yeah. This is really, like, I'm just like ping, 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 ping. So when we read Ainsley MacLeod's book, my main soul type is caregiver. In this lifetime is caregiver. And so in what we're talking about, what you're saying, it's not my job, my purpose to take care of my mom or dad or my nephews. Like, that's limiting. That feels.
You're here to change the world.
What?
You're here to change the world, Julie.
Yeah, I have a poster in French that says that right there. That makes so much sense in like why I chose caregiver soul type in this lifetime, because our soul type can change as we go through all the different iterations of life, according to Ainsley. So that's fascinating. I see. I can now, that makes more sense as to why it's like don't just because I got this and that, clearly we create labels because we have language and it's all limiting, but we do the best with it that we can. So I have a caregiver soul type. It's not necessarily like, oh, now you're to be a caregiver in this lifetime. It's more like you're working through what it means to be a caregiver in a broader way, different way, and or come to terms with.
And also you have that soul type. You are that person who can be compassionate, be empathic, understand what's going on, and you're sensitive enough to understand that people have needs that aren't necessarily obvious. So that's all part of your personality type, but it's not supposed to be a prison sentence.
No. Well, thank you for watching this latest episode of Making Lights Two Humans Being. I'm Julie here. With me as always is Kate Foggo, and somewhere on her lap is Sally, who wants to participate. So thank you for sticking with us for this episode. It's been was a bit of a mess, and Kate's done a great job in kind of in editing it down. So there is a part 2. Like I said, stay with us. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can leave comments below. Let us know what you think. Let us know how you deal with differing points of view, particularly within your family. We'd be grateful to hear more stories. So hope to see you in the next chapter. Thank you.